Improving your aim in Apex and gaming in general has a surprising amount of correlations to hitting the gym or just regularly exercising. Focus and consistency is the key, and you can improve a lot by focusing in one specific area in what's also known as isolation. I'm going to cover the full ideal routine to get the most out of your training, but keep in mind that the full routine is over an hour long, and even I don't do the routine every single day because I just don't have the time, but doing all of these steps will give you an optimal improvement in every area of aiming. The most important part of everything is getting it done and putting in at least a semblance of effort. You want to show up every day, and if you can improve even 1% every single time, the skill will compound and your aim will be that much better in a week, in a month, and especially in a year. It's all up to you and how you want to do it. Let's start off with the first piece of the puzzle, your eyes. The ability to track or follow a moving target with your eyes is the first point of failure when you play a video game, be it on mouse and keyboard or on the controller. Any practice that you do for hand-to-eye coordination is simply moot if your eye tracking isn't up to shape. Thankfully, I put together a few exercises that you can go through, so all you have to do is simply get comfortable and sit how you normally would in front of the screen, and then try to keep your eyes on the moving targets on the screen. So to keep this video short, I made it available on the screen in the top right, and I will also link it in the description so you don't miss it. The eye training portion is about 8 minutes long, and the difference between doing the eye tracking before aim training and skipping it is night and day. Out of all of the things listed in this video, this is probably the most efficient way to practice, as it only takes 8 minutes and will turn your tracking god tier. And depending on your eye tracking level, it might turn your aim just god tier. It gives you an incredible buff when it comes to tracking, target acquisition, and overall flicking. Give it a try, but wait until the video is done, otherwise you're gonna kill my watch time. After you worked on warming up and improving your eye tracking abilities, it's time to tie hand-to-eye coordination into the mix. There are plenty of ways of working on your hand-to-eye coordination, but we're once again going to be focusing on isolation, because if you play a game of Apex, drop hot, and you look for kills, it's not only horrible inefficient with you only getting a few opportunities to aim every few minutes, but at the same time you also have to focus on other external factors such as your own health, positioning, grenades, enemies positioning, ammunition, recoil, weapon attachments, timings, and a lot of other things. So stepping out of that and reducing the training to just you and a moving target or static helps you focus on your aim a ton. There's a few options for aim training software out there, but we're going to be focusing on the two giants, the well-known and free-to-play aimlabs and the paid kovaaks aim trainer. These two tools are massive in the aim training space and are mostly the same. Both aimlabs and kovaaks have countless of unique aim training scenarios, allowing you to practice specific movements at specific ranges, at any specific angles, and you can practice things such as tracking, flicking, reacting, and predicting, and everything in between. Booting up either of these softwares can be very daunting, but thankfully Voltaic has developed a not only benchmarking scenario where you can test your current skills, but also a playlist for every skill level with a clear path of improvement once you hit certain goals. As far as I'm aware, Voltaic is now partnered with aimlabs, so you can only find up-to-date scenarios and progression sheets for aimlabs moving forward. It's also worth noting that aimlabs actually has support for controller, and in my previous guides we have only been focusing on mouse and keyboard, but you can also plug in a controller and get aim assist as well. Getting started with Voltaic is very easy. They have their own set of resources, but diving into the explanation quickly gets complicated, so instead let me explain what you need to do as simply as possible. First, get yourself the progression spreadsheet that I've linked in the description and of course on the screen. You can edit the sheet by hitting file and then make a copy. Head over to the novice tab in the bottom and play all of the scenarios that are listed a few times over. Conveniently, you can click the play button to open up aimlabs and get started on the scenario instantly. I'd recommend doing this 3 times per scenario, then input the high and the average scores to see where you rank and how good you actually are. Continue doing this until you finish all of the benchmark scenarios. These benchmarks are a great tool to figure out your exact aiming skills and learn where your strengths and weaknesses lie, so you know exactly what you need to focus on. You should benchmark yourself at least once a week to make sure that you're practicing the appropriate scenarios. Keep in mind that the benchmarking scenarios are designed to figure out your exact skill level and aren't appropriate for practice. That's why we have the playlists that are linked farther down in the sheet. Once you max out the progression bar on the right side of the high score or average score inputs, you can progress into the next tab to continue upping the difficulty and improving. Going through the entire progress sheet takes a lot of time and gets exponentially more difficult the more you progress in ranks. But if you already own kovaaks aim trainer and you want to stick to that, there are outdated versions of the Voltaic progress system, but I recommend trying out the pureg playlist instead, which is an aim training playlist designed with Apex Legends in mind. And this covers all of the basis for aiming in Apex Legends. Going through a general aim training playlist takes up to 30 minutes or maybe an hour, after which you can take it to the next step. But we're not jumping into Apex just yet. Or well, sorta. We're now going to be using a great tool developed by Cafe FPS called the Flow State Aim Trainer. Flow State was developed in R5 Reloaded, a standalone mod built on the Season 3 build of Apex Legends, and I'll link how you can install it in the description. The tool doesn't run on your Origin install, but does require you to be logged into Origin to launch. For your own sake, I recommend logging into an alternate account when using R5 Reloaded. The Flow State Aim Trainer adds another layer. We worked eye training and we've done the fundamentals with the dedicated aim training software. The Flow State Aim Trainer has several scenarios that allow you to practice your aim within the Apex Legends engine with identical recoil and gun feel to the current version of the game, adding the layer of gun feel and movement to the onion. There's scenarios for strafing dummies, target switching, floating targets, popgun targets, tile frenzy, close fast strafes, smooth spot, fast jump strafes, and then some more niche specific scenarios where you can practice arc star sticking, vertical grenades, shooting Valkyrie's ultimate, shooting from Horizon's lift, shooting skydiving targets, and shooting targets that are just running around. All, you know, it's perfect for bot lobbies. If you're following this guide one step at a time, go into the settings and turn the dummy's shield levels to blue or red, strafing speed to normal or fast depending on your skill level, and turn off auto reload on hit. I'd suggest keeping the challenges duration at 60. After that, you run the scenarios from strafing dummies all the way until fast jump strafes at least once, or until you feel comfortable within the game. You can always return to the specific scenarios if you know these are things that you need to work on. And after the Flow State Aim Trainer, there is one more step before we boot up the actual Apex client. We are going to check out one of the Deathmatch playlists. I found that these Deathmatch playlists in R5 Reloaded currently has some of the best ways to improve at an incredibly fast rate. Every server has their own personal settings, but I have found myself playing the Wingman and the R99 free-for-all deathmatches. These servers put you up against 24 other Wraiths in a pretty small map with complete and utter chaos. You're forced to not only work on your aim, but your movement and positioning against other incredibly capable players, and I'm not going to mince words, it is challenging. But the challenge is also what makes it so damn efficient. I personally play 1 or 2 games until I win a deathmatch before moving on to the next step, but you can spend as much time on here as you would like. I've seen some people spend entire days within the free-for-all deathmatch, so that is a valid strategy as long as you don't play long enough to actually hurt yourself. Keep in mind that RSI and other wrist injuries are a risk. Every single exercise that I've told you about in this video eventually adds up into that full onion, one layer at a time. After doing all of these exercises in tandem, you can always boot up Apex and jump into a public match, or maybe even a ranked match, and you're probably going to realize that playing a battle royale is just way less efficient practice-wise than grinding these routines out. I'd normally say that doing a full routine for 1 to 2 hours easily beats the improvement compared to a full 12-hour day of only playing Apex, dropping hot, and fighting. Obviously, there's more to Apex than just raw mechanics, but it is ideal to practice raw mechanics through something like this routine, and then focusing on positioning and macro in the actual game. There's also a few things that will significantly improve your aim that isn't in this routine, even if you skip aim training completely. And that's going to be a little bit boring maybe, but it is paramount to performing better. I'd say you could probably perform up to twice as good just by either fixing some of these things or improving on them. I'm talking about getting enough sleep. You want to make sure you hit your macros, you get your nutrition in, your vitamins. You want to be hydrated, you do cardio, and you lift weights. A player who's on their peak performance-wise can reach completely new heights just by adapting a more healthy lifestyle, and that's something I'll recommend to anyone who might be stuck in a rut, even after grinding through all of these aim training routines without seeing much progress. Honestly, like I said, doing the entire routine is very time-consuming, but putting in effort is the only way to improve. You can put all this sweat down into self-improvement, or at the very least boot up an aim training routine or R5 Reloaded deathmatch once a day to make sure you at least get a little bit of progress. If that doesn't interest you, you can plug in a controller instead. And whoa, before commenting on the previous joke, check out the video on how aim assist actually works. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.